We are back with you once again on another Johnnie Torch Live broadcast. Johnnie Torch program number 216. And this is an impromptu stream. You know, you got to do these live streams when you got a crowd funder going. You got to keep the YouTube channel active. So whenever I got a day off, I got a break, I got nothing to do in the evening hours, I'm going to try to do a stream. Now, it's good if it coincides with me doing my coloring on issue 8. Now, you're going to get a sneak peek at issue 8 here pretty soon, in just a couple of minutes. Now, I'm hoping this is not going to be like anything spoiler related, because I'm literally just starting the first page. So if you think that this is going to, I don't know, ruin the experience on issue 7, I don't know, just listen. Listen and don't look. But I don't think there'll be anything too wildly spoilerish in this page, or I wouldn't show it to you. All right. First off, of course, we are going to, let me share screen here. We're going to hype up the Indiegogo once again. There we are. And yes, there it is. We're live. The Bullets Bourbon Chronicles is what we're calling this. You're going to get the first issue, the first ever issue of the Bullets Bourbon Chronicles. This is a remaster of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. I've sold many copies of this at my convention appearances. Very popular issue. The first issue typically is. And we're doing a crowdfunder here, and we're selling the remastered version, because the first version of the issue was with hand-colored markers and pencils. And I tried to, or I wanted to, tie everything together with the more modern books that I've done, where they're, you know, digitally colored, digitally lettered. Of course, it needed to be polished up. So my appearances, I'm still going to try to fit a couple in before the end of the summer. You could check out my website in the description for the, that's a good point. I don't think I put the Indiegogo on my website. I'm trying to hype it so much on Twitter that I don't know if it's necessary. But the book, it looks, 20 times better after the remaster. So I wanted to make sure I made an effort to crowdfund for it. It's 100% done. There's no need for concern. There's no need for any question of whether you'll get it or not, whether the project will be completed or not. I'm only asking $500 goal, because really it's a one-man operation. I pretty much do everything: the art, the story, the lettering, the editing, and so forth. I have help with the files is about it. So whatever financial remuneration I get is probably going to go to recoup some of those funds. But basically, it's all done, and it's all set for you. Let's take a quick look at some of the perks. Let's take a look. The first one, of course, is $7 US for The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. This is called the Origin. Again, it's not really an origin in so much that there's some kind of amazing event that sets off these events, but ultimately it's the first meeting between Carrot Top and Bullets, the arch nemesis of Bullets Bourbon, of course, being Carrot Top. He is going to try to poison the city. I don't want to give away too much, but it's a 32-page story. It really is there simply to acclimate you to the world, to get you involved. It's got a 3-page afterward, where I go into some behind the scenes on how I created the story and created the characters and the world and the universe. One of the things I say there is that I really wanted the first issue to be a good jumping on point. I wanted to keep it around 25 pages. Of course, with the pinups I put in, there's a couple of pinups. I got a couple of afterward pages. It pads it out to about 32 pages, but it's a 24-page story. And it's just to get you acclimated into the universe. It's a #1 issue, so I'm sure collectors will want it. Then we get the sequel. This is the, knock on wood, this is the introduction to Pencil Neck. And he is another of my favorite villains that I created for the saga. I look at the Bullets Bourbon saga kind of as seasons of a television show. I've tried to describe it in this way before. I've even described it in the Indiegogo as sort of my version of an 80s action star, an 80s action show with sort of 90s cartoon stylings. If you liked Batman the Animated Series, if you liked Gargoyles, this is what I'd say I grew up on. I was a teenager in those years when that was all on, and it really had a profound effect on me. I was just starting out as an artist. I was just starting out to draw. These are the cartoons that inspired me. These are the images that I wanted to try to emulate. And if you can see, that's that kind of colorful but noirish sort of look. You know, it looks like noir, but it is still very bright and vibrant and colorful, like those shows were. The color palette sort of has like the dark kind of grayish background, but then again, the figures kind of are superimposed over that as larger than life and very bright and colorful. And that's kind of what I was going for. And in the same way, like I said, an 80s action style thing, I kind of felt like the superhero genre had been tapped out. And I didn't think there was enough of the action hero. I really wanted to see more from the action hero genre. Didn't see too much of it, particularly in comics, but I think even on television we don't see it anymore. And again, my own particular brand of humor, which is sort of a 1930s, 1940s slapstick. You get a little bit of that in there as well. And of course, Pencil Neck is sort of my, I kind of hasten to usually make these kind of comparisons because I don't want people to think, but he's sort of my Joker. He's sort of my trickster. He, mad as a March hare. He's crazy as a loon. And he's a lot of fun because he's unpredictable. You don't know really where he's coming from or what he's going to do next. And like I said, the first season is going to have, of the Bullets Bourbon comics, is going to have, let's see, I think it's going to have 5 collections, which will run about 12 issues. So the individual issues will probably run to about 12, and that we'll get about 5 collections out of that, 5 graphic novel collections. And then we're going to call it Season 1, and we're going to move on to Season 2. Now, Season 1 is very heavily influenced by these 2 characters, these 2 villains, Carrot Top and Pencil Neck. Pretty much that, we're laying the groundwork. As I've said many times, you kind of want to start from the ground up and make sure you have a real solid base to build on. And we're using Carrot Top and Pencil Neck a lot during this first season. We'll be introducing a lot more villains that are not related to Carrot Top or Pencil Neck, but we really needed to build the universe. And I felt that the familiarity of those villains kind of sets the tone, sets the stage, and really, gets you ready for other challenges in these other villains that I have coming up. So if you see a lot of these 2 villains, it's sort of by design. I didn't want to stretch them out among a long period. They're pretty much concentrated in the first season, and then as we move on, they become more recurring. The trilogy, that's perk number 3. We've got the Night When the Night Comes. That is the team up of Carrot Top and Pencil Neck. Bullets Bourbon is pressed into service as a secret agent by a top government secret agency. This is one of my favorite stories as well. I mean, I like them all, but this one I really felt gave the real, this is what each Bullets Bourbon story aspires to, something very grand. And like the world is at stake literally in this one. And it was a lot of fun to write because I like writing villain team-ups. That's a lot of fun, especially when you have a character like Carrot Top who's very egomaniacal and tries to pull the strings of everybody, and he has to deal with sort of a loose cannon in Pencil Neck. We also bring in Sour Note, who has his own agenda. It was a lot of fun to do that one. And, of course, I showed you some preview pages before, but let's get to the featured perk before we move on and try to do some coloring. Bonus features, this is our highest perk. This is $30 US. This is all 3 of the graphic novel collections, and you will get the next issue in the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon series, where Carrot Top joins forces with his father, Parsnip Top, and there's a gang war between the Vegetable Garden Gang, which you see here on the left, and the Fruit Salad Mob, which you see on the right. Parsnip Top, the leader of the Vegetable Garden Gang, and Adam Apple, the leader of the Fruit Salad Mob, come to war over the 10,000 carrot statuette that is worth a small fortune. In the meantime, Bullets Bourbon also comes under the charms of the beautiful but deadly Veronica. And this is a 20-page issue. We have a couple of pinups, and we're going to show you one of them. We're going to unveil it for the first time. It's the thumbnail, so I think you've kind of already seen it. But if you get the Family Jewels, if you back at this tier, then you'll see this pinup as well, because you get it in the Family Jewels. So be sure to back it. We haven't gotten a lot of backers, and, you know, it's technically my second Indiegogo, so I can't say it's my first, but we are trying to build on it every single time and do better. Each time, do better. So there you have it. Check out the link in the description below. You could check out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Chronicles there. You can see some of the pinup pages here, some of the preview pages. And again, it's a very good deal, if I do say so myself. That's 132 pages for $30. That is an amazing deal. You know, you try to get a deal like that from even some of the biggest names, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get that many pages for that money. And like I said, it's 100% done. It's all ready to go. It's sitting on my shelf and awaiting my delivering it to the post office. So check it out in the link in the description below, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, and we are calling this the Bullets Bourbon Chronicles. So there you have it. Okay, so we will move on now to, let's see what we got here. We're going to unveil the first surprise pinup. I'm trying to unveil these on YouTube streams and see if we can get some more interest in our YouTube channel here. This is the beautiful Veronica pinup that we have in our next issue, issue number 7. And this is the one, this is the perk I was saying you can get for $30. You'll get this issue where Veronica is introduced for the first time ever. And like I said before, we've been leading up to Veronica and her introduction into the series. I've always wanted to have a femme fatale in the series. Of course, a Private Eye needs a femme fatale, and we wanted to get her in on this, you know, building up her character to her introduction. And she is mentioned in the first issue. She's mentioned again in the third story arc, When the Night Comes. Finally, she is coming to an issue in the flesh. And I'm telling you, I don't know how Bullets is going to deal with Veronica, because he has his hands full with the male villains, but he can at least punch them on the jaw. So, breathtakingly beautiful art, if I do say so myself. I might be biased, but that's really an eye catcher. That's a stunner right there. All right, as much as I would hate to deprive you of looking at this beautiful piece any longer, let me get to some coloring. And let's see, what do we have here? Okay, we're doing, this is Bullets Bourbon number 8, issue number 8. I'm going to move these windows around so that, let's see. Alrighty. Issue 8 is going to be called, we're going to unveil that now too, I guess. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. Issue 8 is going to be called Temptation Eyes. Yes, that is in tribute to the grassroots song that I love so dearly that I wanted to name this episode after. But of course, that has to do with Veronica, right? That's her temptation eyes are what's going to get Bullets into trouble. There's Bullets right there. And there's Veronica over there. Did the best I could to clean up this page. It needs a little more cleaning up, but let's get straight to the coloring right now. And this, if you can see some of the dialogue, like I don't try to hide all the dialogue because I know if I'm doing it right, it should get you more interested than less. But Bullets is very upset with the current situation. He has tried to capture Carrot Top in the last... He's been trying to capture Carrot Top for quite a while. And he's getting more and more fed up. And it leads to a more and more dangerous obsession with him. He wants to capture Carrot Top, bring him to justice, put him in jail so badly that he's taking risks he shouldn't. He's acting erratic. And it's up to Joe and Chubby, really, to try to rein him in and make sure that he doesn't leave himself open to attacks. And of course, this is going to be a bad time for him to be in that condition because he's going to leave himself open to the charms of Veronica, who is going to try to use her feminine wiles to sway him to the dark side. Carrot Top, as I've said many times, he's an interesting character, and he would rather have Bullets on his side. He really doesn't want to kill him if possible. But again, the obsession is getting so, strong between these two that it seems to be this town ain't big enough for the both of us. That's where they kind of find themselves in this episode. Both guys are like... It kind of reminds me, in a sense, like Wrath of Khan, where it's like you have both Kirk and Khan. They sort of want to get their hands around each other's throat in the worst way and just squeeze the life out of each other, but they can't do it. They can't ever seem to be in the same place at the same time. And it's kind of that way here with these two guys, although there will be a showdown at the end of the episode. So it's not going to be like Wrath of Khan, where they never really met. I know some people criticize the movie for that. I think it was all right. I mean, I kind of think that that's what made that movie so unique in a way, was that there was no big fist fight at the end. It was submarine warfare. It was, trying to outmaneuver your opponent. Because, we got the fist fight with Kirk and Krug in Star Trek 3. And Krug wasn't really no genius, But with Khan, that's what was sort of, that was his shtick, sort of, was he was intelligent, he had genetic engineering or whatever. And he was able to, even though he was like a man out of time, he was in a good place where he could mentally figure out, 2 steps ahead and stuff. And it was up to Kirk to sort of outthink even that. And of course, only Captain Kirk could do it, right? Nobody else could. Think anybody else can beat Khan? Crazy. But yeah, I'm doing this sort of by hand here. I'm not going to... I already colored in the buttons and everything. I don't want to do a sweeping... Because that's what I kind of do. I sweep in all the colors and then just color over the... Like you can see the bottom there. I did the background already. I always find it fun to go back to the old sets. Like, for instance, Joe's office. We haven't been in it since issue 2. And so now we finally come back to it, and I got to pull up the old background color for Joe's office. That's a lot of fun. All right, so... Let's see here. Another thing I try to compare Bullets Bourbon to, I think, if you like the action, sort of the action comedy setting of like a I'm trying to think what I can compare it to. Like, let me see. Wait, why isn't that working? Press something wrong here. There it is. Like I says, if you like say Chuck or Psych, I think you probably would like this as well, because it's also in that kind of genre of sort of a slightly wacky protagonist. I certainly wouldn't put him as wacky as Chuck or Sean, but sort of that he's not like this He-Man character. He is sort of just getting by. He's sort of in over his head a lot of times, but it's just that he's got this incredible gumption, I guess you'd call it, that he sticks to his guns. He braves whatever it is, tries to get it done. I think I took that mostly inspiration from Indiana Jones with that. I think a lot of times we see Indiana Jones, he gets in over his head, and you never really know if he, planned ahead enough for what danger he puts himself in. That's kind of what I was planning for Bullets Bourbon. He kind of thinks impulsively on certain things. Like if he's going to do something, he sort of will brainstorm it, but then he'll end up playing it by ear afterwards. That's like another of the inspirations was Hannibal from the A-Team, where he sort of brainstorms things. And I put in, just like Hannibal had, I love it when a plan comes together. I also put in a catchphrase for Bullets, but he doesn't say it. It's whenever Hannibal was brainstorming, the other members of the team would say he's on the jazz, which didn't become as popular a catchphrase as the more remembered I love it when a plan comes together. But whenever he was brainstorming, they would say that. Mr. T would say that, or Face. And so with that sort of as the inspiration, Joe or Chubby will always say, he's got that look in his eye, and that's supposed to mean that Bullets is brainstorming. And he's coming up with some crazy plan that probably makes sense only to him. But he will still pull it off. I had plans to do a cartoon intro for the Indiegogo, because I know videos are popular for doing your Indiegogo. You should make a video and so forth. But the fellow that I got in contact with, we had like a scheduling conflict. I think I contacted him a couple of days before the 4th of July, and I told him, I'm celebrating the 4th, so you got to give me a couple of days, about a week, and I'll come up with a concept for you so we can do an animated short, like 10 seconds, just nothing in particularly intricate, so to speak. And he said, sure, that's fine. And then when I got back to him about 2 weeks later, he was like, oh, I'm too busy. I got things going on. I got a couple other clients. So I could have probably, and I said, well, that's fine. Just let me know whenever you're free and we'll talk. But I probably could have just went to someone else, but I never did. So the cartoon never really materialized, or, well, I'll say cartoon. It's sort of like an animated, I suppose. You know how they did that with Spider-Man, the original one from the 60s, where you basically just had them moving their mouths, and you know what I mean? It wasn't probably going to be very fancy. Jeez, what'd I do? I gotta do that at least once, otherwise. There we go. But still, anything would be nice to see. I'd love to see some Bullets Bourbon animation. I really would love to see a Bullets Bourbon animated series at some point. Hopefully we get there someday. And again, I'm patient. you don't have wild success right out the gate. You're being unrealistic if you think you're going to have wild success right out the gate. Some people do, I suppose. I mean, just like some people who win the lottery, but it's like I'd rather do the work and sort of coast along rather than try to break down the door. You know what I mean? It's like you have to let God be in control. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. You don't ever want to really force God's hand. I was reading in my Bible studying over the past week. I've been reading the book of Daniel, and it's very interesting. One of the stories in that book that nobody really ever talks about. I mean, we talk about the lion's den. We talk about the three men in the fiery furnace. But we don't really talk about Nebuchadnezzar losing his mind. Remember that story? That's Daniel chapter 4, I think. And what happens is he's so confident, he's taking so much credit for all his accomplishments, that God finally looks down and says, you're giving yourself way too much credit. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have any of this. And for, I think it was 7 years, God gave him the mind of an animal, that he just went out and ate grass and lived in the field. And it was really, I guess, a wake-up call for him. And to his credit, it made him a devout believer in the God of Daniel. It's kind of amazing that he didn't follow Daniel's God, God, the God of the Bible, after the other times that God had, shown his power to him. We've seen, he saw the men in the furnace, he had the dream interpreted by Daniel, and he seemed to know the God of the Bible, but he didn't come to trust the God of the Bible, which is kind of interesting. It's probably a metaphor for what goes on even today. A lot of people see what God does, but they don't want to believe it. All too often, people, it's not that they can't believe something, but they won't believe something. They just want to believe what they want to believe. And when you look at the Bible, God very often has to take you down that level, like he did with Nebuchadnezzar. He's got to put you on that path and say, you didn't listen the first 900 times I told you, so I'm going to do something drastic to get your attention. Has God ever done that to you? I know he's done it to me. I mean, thank God it wasn't to the level that Nebuchadnezzar needed it, but sometimes you need that wake-up call. And God is not shy at giving it to you if you really need it. What is wrong here? So the moral of that story is, quite obviously, when you see the signs, listen to what God's telling you. And if you're trying to take credit for what he's given you, don't. And make sure you have patience, because if you're trying to force God's hand, it ain't going to work out too good for you. It ain't going to work out good for you at all. And how do you like them apples? And like I said before, this is kind of a slightly more serious story. This arc we're on now, the family jewels. It being Labor Day weekend, I did my usual Jerry Lewis marathon, where I watch all the Jerry Lewis movies. If you're a man of a certain age, you're going to remember the Jerry Lewis telethon. Well, it's only been about, 10 years since there was one. And so to me, Labor Day weekend is synonymous with Jerry Lewis. So I was watching a bunch of those movies. The Family Jewels, of course, was the name of one of his movies, Jerry. And one of my favorite Jerry Lewis movies, if not my favorite Jerry Lewis movie, was The Family Jewels. There isn't a whole lot in common with that movie, with this story. But I think somewhat ironically, One of the storylines is one of the characters that Jerry Lewis portrays goes to a pool hall to get information. And that's kind of also something that happens with Bullets in this story. Now, I don't think, and I wrote this story back like when I was, I don't know, 18 or something. I don't think I was thinking of that as a tribute or anything, but looking back at it now that I just watched the movie and while I'm looking at the script here for the story, it is kind of interesting that they both include that as a as a segment. Jerry Lewis. Everybody loves Jerry. I don't think everybody loves Jerry Lewis, but I certainly think he was very funny. Like I said, I've got a fondness for classic comedy. You know, that's where I got my sense of humor from, was from classic comedy. And you know, it's clean. It's generally acceptable to all ages, and I try to maintain that same kind of balance with Bullets Bourbon. Like I said, the classic animation of the 90s, they had very sophisticated storytelling. You know, they didn't really shy away from some serious themes, some dark themes, you know, violence, particularly Batman the Animated Series. And like I said, Gargoyles, a lot of them, they had themes that were probably, they certainly, I don't think, would get away with them in this day and age. Everything is dumbed down. You're not allowed to draw attractive females like we have here in the Bullets Bourbon universe. You're not allowed to have gunplay, heaven knows. And if the two protagonists are not same sex, then you're not getting a platform. But you know, that's not what we go by here. This is old school. Bullets Bourbon is very old school. This is going to appeal to, you know, back in the day, what we used to have. We used to have fun. Sort of like, that's another great cartoon, even though it's more of a 80s cartoon, but He-Man. He-Man, G.I. Joe, loved those shows as well. They were also, in a way, inspirational. I think probably most inspirational with the villains, like Carrot Top. He's sort of got that kind of spoiled child mentality that Skeletor and Cobra Commander had. That's kind of how he reacts when his plans are not going the way he wanted. He kind of has that hissy fit. So, all right. Let's see. Like I always say, I'm always kind of leery about going on other people's shows and having people on my show. I really should get over that. It would probably be a big help. So if anybody wants to offer me a place on on your show, I will seriously consider it. And I hope, if you ask to be on the show, that I could facilitate you as well. One hand washes the other, as they say. And if I can promote you in any way, I'll be happy to do it. If it's at all possible. Like I said, there are a few things I probably would prefer not to promote. Like I said, if it's too adult, if you do something that's like too adult, or you know, something that's going to generally be embarrassing for me to talk about, I suppose I would turn you down. But nah, I would like to promote people if I can. The whole problem is I try to spend my time wisely. I don't really take as much time with my YouTube channel as I should, because when I have free time like I have right now, I just spend a lot of time coloring, trying to get the next book ready. It's like a grind. And I've said this on Twitter several times lately, but I crank these books out at regular intervals. I mean, nobody can say that I'm not dedicated, because for the amount of return I get for the work that I'm doing, I don't get enough. I don't get enough. But fortunately, I don't really care about the money. See, the whole thing is, when you do a book, I kind of feel like I deserve to get paid for doing it because I put so much time, effort, and money into it. But I would do it anyway, even if it was, a hobby and I never got a dime from it. But the idea is that I can't just put these up on Webtoons. I can't just put these up on some platform that'll show them for free. Because as much as I would love people to read them, as much as I would love to get fans and so on and so forth, I do feel that I deserve to get paid. You know what I mean? So that's why it's kind of like, do you want to be popular or do you want to earn a living? Now, that's kind of where I'm in the middle. On the one hand, I'd love everybody to read this, but then again, on the other hand, I honestly can't be taken advantage of. I put too much time and effort into these, and I am not doing it for charity. You know what I mean? I do want to be able to get some, like I said, some money back from what I put into it. So unfortunately, that's the catch. You can either do it for charity and hope that someone will give you a couple bucks in a tin can, or you could hold out and say, well, this cost me money and I put a lot of work into it. I really should get something for this. And then hope somebody will give you something for it. And most of the time they won't. So, as I said, I don't want to, I said on Twitter all week, but I don't want to sound like I'm discouraged or, being defeatist or anything. But I honestly never thought crowdfunding was for me, because I know how it works. I've listened to John Malin, I've listened to Ethan Van Sciver, I've listened to all the guys, all the greats that know what they're doing with crowdfunding, and they've done very well with it. And it's all about personality. You have to have the followers, you have to have the YouTube channel, you have to have people that are tuning in just to listen to you talk about the phone book. You know what I mean? If you don't have that level of followers, you're not going to get a huge level of success. So I knew going into this that we're kind of at a disadvantage, let's put it that way. But, I've also applied to Indiegogo. I want to thank Indiegogo, if any of those guys are watching, for putting my campaign up on their website. Check out Indiegogo, of course, if you want to find out what's going on in the crowdfunding world. But again, like I said, I've actually done this before. Last year I did a crowdfunder and I did nothing. But I've got to admit, last year I really didn't put any effort into it at all. This year I'm trying to do some publicity for it to keep it going. At the time I kind of thought, well, you just put it up there and people will see it and then they'll buy. Yeah, don't work that way. So this year I'm going to really make an effort. I've got some exciting ideas for the next story. Not the next collection, but the next issue. So that's going to be really fun. If I do a crowdfunder with that, that'll be a lot of fun. But again, I don't know how far that's going to go. If I don't really get anywhere this year, I don't know if I should even bother making another crowdfunder. Maybe I should just go elsewhere. I know I'm doing preliminary moves to try Alterna's distribution service. I'm going to be looking into that pretty soon. I wanted to focus my energies on finishing the last book and doing the crowdfunder first, but I'm going to look into that. It's probably my last chance at trying to get distribution. I don't know. Every time I've looked up distributors, they're very rare, because Diamond was so in control of distribution for such a long time. There are very few distributors. But distribution is basically, the golden chalice, the holy grail, so to speak. If you got someone to distribute for you and you can get your name at least in the conversation on a website or in a previews catalog, that's half the battle. Because right now, what I've done in the past was to, like send press releases to stores and so forth. You don't get a whole lot of responses from that, but I did get a few. But again, it becomes kind of expensive, for the amount of return that you get for it. It's kind of expensive. You need a hype man. That's kind of what I need now. I need a hype man. Someone that'll go in there and break down the barriers for me. I was laughing because a couple of days ago I was saying I need a rival. I need a comic creator rival. That's probably the best thing I could do for myself, because I think when you have a rival and you're trash talking somebody, that's what gets the views. That's what gets the clicks. Everybody knows that. If I could get somebody, and it'd be pure kayfabe. I wouldn't really be angry at the guy. I wouldn't really be trying to sink him or anything. But if I could just talk trash about him and do streams talking about how he's wronged me and I want my campaign to do better than his because he deserves a fail, and if I can do all that stuff, I guarantee I'd get views. And the more views you get, the more chances you're going to have crowdfunding success. Because I think if you have, what is it, like 10% of your followers, only 10% of your followers will back you. If you have, on YouTube, I mean, I don't know how it goes with the percentages, but it's something like that. And we've made strides. I want to thank all the subscribers that came back. Usually I do that during a Torch News Roundup, but I don't have the list in front of me. I know Peter Cimetti just subscribed, so thank you, Peter, if you ever do watch one of these episodes of my channel. I wanted to get on the 5 Minutes of Fame there, the show he does on Monday, but a cruel fate has decided for me that I'm going to be otherwise occupied on Monday nights. So, when it rains, it pours. That's kind of the way it goes for me. Because I'd been home Monday nights, and I would watch the show, and I'd be like, oh, I should get on. But I was like, wait for the crowdfunder. When you get a crowdfunder, there's a chance you might get some nibbles once you do something like that. Now, if I'd just done the show and had no crowdfunder, I probably wouldn't have seen any sales. I might still not see any sales, but at least you have the option of trying to get somebody to go straight to the crowdfunder, because they'll put it in the comments. But again, sadly, don't look like it's going to happen. I mean, I'm not ruling anything out. If I could free myself a day there, I'd be happy to do it. But again, it's not looking probable. I could always extend the campaign. Like I said, I don't think the campaign is going to wind up being successful. I keep saying it's sure to fail, and I'm not saying that, like I said, to be a pessimist, but I'm a realist. Unless you guys back Bullets Bourbon right now, stop everything you're doing, back the highest tier a couple of times, it's not going to succeed. It's all up to you, not up to me. I ain't got nothing to do with this. This is all up to you. The power is in your hands. This campaign sinks or swims on you and you alone. Boy, can you hear that drag racing out there? What do I live on? The strip or something? I don't understand it. A lot of motorcycles, huh? I hunch over this computer so much, my back. Yeah, I guess we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon here. Let me give you some channel updates. Let's see. The DC fandom, I guess they're calling it part 2. I don't know what they're possibly going to do for an encore, because they gave us a lot of trailers and everything the first time around. That's going to be this Saturday. So chances are I am not going to be doing a live broadcast Saturday like I usually do. What I will probably do is do a live broadcast on Sunday talking about, if there is any interesting topics from Saturday's fandom. I could do it Saturday night. I don't know if I'm going to be home Saturday night. I don't know what the deal is with that yet. But definitely Sunday. At least that's what it looks like at this point. You know, stay tuned. Keep your eyes on the channel. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe, and you will be, and hit the bell, of course, and you will be notified, hopefully, if YouTube's notification system does anything. It'll let you know. And let's see. Like I said, I'm going to try to do more streams. I'm going to try to get the word out on Bullets Bourbon more. I'm on IndieCron. Check out IndieCron. See the campaign, and you can see I'm a creator. Unfortunately, it didn't work. It didn't work out that I had any backers from it yet, but we are going to work on that. We're going to continue to work on that. And as I said, you know, maybe this is the way to go. This is another idea. I'm always looking for something to talk about when I do these art streams, because, you know, there's only so many ways I could talk about the book. I mean, I do end up repeating myself an awful lot because, you know, there's just so many times I could tell you about the book. Maybe I should do my Bible show while I'm coloring. That'll give me something to talk about while I'm doing the coloring, because there's a lot of Bible topics, like we were talking about Daniel today. There's a lot of Bible topics we could talk about. I'd be very interested in talking about and seeing if anybody else is interested in. But again, to just sit there in front of the camera and just try to come up with a topic and talk about it, it's never been that easy. You know what I mean? I rather just talk about it like free form instead of just sort of sit down and have a subject. All right, we're going to talk about X. You know what I mean? A little more difficult that way, but if I can just, you know, pick a passage like I did today, Daniel chapter 4, I'll pick out something different maybe next time, and we'll talk about that. And, you know, if you have any comments, be sure to leave them below. I always read the comments on the next live stream, usually on Saturday. Wednesday's usually a pretty good day for me too. I can usually do a live stream on Wednesday. Again, like I said, I should wrap this up because I think StreamYards, they only give you, what, 10 hours when you have a free subscription or whatever. So if I'm going to keep, you know, churning out these live streams during the duration of the Indiegogo, I can't keep wasting time. So we're going to wrap this one up here. I will admonish you one more time to check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye. The Indiegogo is now live. You can check it out on Indiegogo as well as IndieCron. You can also check out my link in the description below. I should try to get some more information up on my website when I get a chance. We also have the Twitter link in the description. We've got the Indiegogo in the description, and we also have the website, Bullets Bourbon Comics. Get in on this deal while you can, because once the crowdfunder is over, the prices are probably going to have to go up a little bit, because if I'm going to work with distribution and I'm going to put them in stores, I imagine I'm not going to be able to offer you these prices, because the buck is going to be split a lot thinner amongst people. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to give you as good a deal. But for a limited time only, $7 for the first issue of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, the Bullets Bourbon Chronicles, which is a remaster of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, for only $7, $15 for Knock on Wood plus the first issue, which is called It's Always Something. And the third perk is When the Night Comes, which is all 3 of the graphic novels. If you back at the highest perk, that is $30. You also get the 20-page The Family Jewels. You also get a free magnet with cover art, which could also be including this very gorgeous depiction you see on screen right now. That's one of the magnets. That's one of the stickers. You get 2 stickers and a magnet. And like I said, I just have random artwork on it, so it's not like you can choose which one you want. I mean, maybe, seeing as how seeing as how I'm having a limited number of backers, if you back at that perk and you tell me which one you want, if you're the first, let's say 5 backers, I'll let you ask for what artwork you want on it. It's any of the covers or any of the pinups. So let me know that, and we'll see what we can do. But beyond that, we're not gonna have enough of each artwork on each magnet or anything to get it to everybody. All right, so thank you once again for joining us here on the Johnnie Torch Live broadcast, and make sure you check out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. We are going to be hyping this as much as humanly possible. Please check us out on Twitter, and I'm going to see if I can get the preview pages up. You can see them right now on Indiegogo, but I'm also going to put them on my website, so that's something else I got to do. I got to really seriously overhaul my website. It's been like 5 years since I really went to town on it and tried to fix it up, but yeah, I got to try to do some stuff. All right, so until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.